Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec, back with another video for you guys. Hopefully you're excited and ready to learn something new. Today's video, we're going to be covering security engineer intro. We're going to talk a little bit about what it takes to be a security engineer, what the job entails, yada yada yada. Right, so before we get into it, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, comment below your thoughts and opinions after watching the video. Alright, let's go. Like I said, we're going to take a look at the security engineering room here. We're going to go over what it takes to be a security engineer, some of the day-to-day tasks, etc. Learning objectives. Why does the need for security engineers rise? What are the qualifications required to be a security engineer? What does a security engineer do in a typical day of work? Right, so go ahead and click that correct answer button down below if you've already read through this. Now, as usual, if there's a lot of text in here, I'm just going to skim over some of the important pieces, and then you guys be sure to check out the room. It's a free room, right? So you can just use a free account to access the room, or you can just pause the video and read through it yourself. And then we're going to answer some questions. So let's continue on. Task number 2 here. What is a security engineer? Goes through and explains the role, obviously, as you can see here. Role of security engineer. It's got different items here. Owns the overall security of an organization. The main person responsible for securing an organization's digital assets ensures that the organization's cybersecurity risk is minimized at all times, devises strategies, and creates systems that minimize the risk posed to cybersecurity threats to an organization, and you can see the rest there. Now, as a security engineer in the real world, that may be part of your job. You may be the only cybersecurity person at that particular organization, like myself. That's happened to me on a few organizations I've worked at. And I've also worked at organizations where the security engineering person is on another team, right? They have a security engineering team, well, built of security engineers, right? But anyway, so this is just like a general definition and explanation of a security engineer. Qualifications required, another type of generalization. 0 to 2 years of experience with IT administration, help desk, networks, or security operations, basic understanding of computer networks, operating systems, and programming, basic understanding of security concepts such as GRC, and it says who ensures that organization security risk is minimized at all times. Security engineers, as we saw up above here. Now let's continue on to task number 3. Core responsibilities of a security engineer. Previous task, we established that a security engineer is responsible for an organization's security posture. In this task, we will expand on the general expectations that an organization has from a security engineer in order to help them achieve their goals in this role. Although loosely defined, security engineer will often be responsible for the areas that follow, right? Asset management slash asset inventory, right? Well, what is that? You're keeping track of everything in your environment, right? And that can range from, it says down here, asset name, type, IP addresses, physical location, place in the network, applications running on an asset permissions, yada, yada, yada. And this is very important, right? If you don't know what you have in your environment, how are you supposed to secure it? And I've encountered this in the real world, many organizations actually, right? Either they have a very defined asset management slash asset inventory um, process in place, or it's lackluster and not really tracking anything, right? And sometimes they'll use a tool out there like ServiceNow, or that's one big one out there. They may use some other similar product to track their inventory. And like I said, this is very important because how do you know how to secure? How are you going to know what to secure if you don't know what you have in your environment? And oftentimes this comes back and bites organizations in the butt because they may have some kind of old server out there, some obsolete server or software out there they don't know about because they're not tracking, right? Well, let's say it's got some kind of high critical vulnerability on it and it gets exploited by an attacker. And now, next thing you know, your environment's getting owned, you're getting ransomware, yada, yada, yada. So this is very important. Moving on here, security policies. An organization needs robust security policies to maintain a security posture. A security engineer helps the organization create security policies based on established security principles. If you don't know what this is, be sure to check this out. These policies are then implemented organization-wide, and the security engineer ensures that the implementation follows the letter and spirit of the policy. Sometimes you need exceptions to policies due to business needs. In such scenarios, the security engineer consults the security principles to allow and deny exceptions and suggest mitigation steps to minimize risk. And that's absolutely true. Even yeah, if you're a security engineer, security analyst, what have you, a lot of times you'll provide input to these security policies to build them out properly. Many times security policies will be written by, the GRC team, the audit team, or something like that. but they're not really those guys that don't have the hands-on exposure like a security engineer would. So you, as a security engineer, you're going to know what's out there and what is actually technically feasible in your environment. Secure by design. A security engineer ensures that the organization is secure by design. The engineer understands that the security posture receives the most return on investment. If it follows secure by design philosophy, that means that security engineer takes steps to implement a secure network architecture. Room coming soon. Yada yada. There you go. There. Awesome. Maybe we'll check that out. Ensures the organization's Windows, Linux, and Active Directory are hardened. Software development follows the secure software development lifecycle. Right. Another thing here to mention secure by design. The way I say it is do it right the first time, right? If you do it right the first time, then you're less likely to come back and have to fix something. If you have to do something, then you're going to have to come back and then it's going to be a huge headache and it can come back and bite you in the butt. So do it right the first time, folks. Security, assessment, and assurance. While securely designing the organization network and infrastructure might be an excellent first step, a security engineer understands that their job is far from done after that, right? It's a continual process, always ongoing. They understand that security is hard work that requires continuous effort. While a security engineer must ensure everything is done correctly, a compromise requires just one loophole to be successful. To mitigate risk from a continuously evolving threat landscape, a security engineer plans to conduct regular security assessments, audits, red teaming, purple teaming exercises, yada yada yada, to improve security posture. While engineers might not be performing assessments and audits themselves, they are primarily involved in helping schedule the activities, yada yada yada. And that's absolutely true. I've been at organizations where I was the point of contact for such engagements. Like, say we got third-party penetration testers coming in. Okay, well, they need a point of contact at the organization so they can get approval, or someone denies the request to do something on a particular system because the system is highly critical and it can't be tested, right? But anyway, um, as a security engineer, you may be part of these assessments so you can provide input to those third parties. And also, when it comes to like auditing and such, you may have to provide some kind of evidence to say that you're actually doing something so they can check the box. Another thing with pen testing is that sometimes you'll see the pen testers get caught by your antivirus or EDR solution, right? Well, a lot of times they're not there to test your AV or EDR. They're only there for like, maybe 5 days, maybe 10 days or something like that. And that's going to take away time from them. So maybe they'll ask you to, hey, can you, disable antivirus on here? We've already been caught. We just want to see how far we can get, like in case your antivirus fails in a real world scenario. What other security controls do you have in place that can possibly detect our activity? So you'll have to help them out with that. Now, pause the video, go through and thoroughly read everything here, then answer the questions below. Right? If you're just following along in the video, we're just going to continue on. Now let's get to the questions. Where are details about organizational digital assets such as name, IP address, and owner stored? Well, we saw that above in the asset inventory. Sometimes security policies can't be followed because of business needs. What avenue does a security engineer have to fulfill business needs in these cases? Well, they're going to need an exception, right? Because if you apply a patch to a system and it breaks it, well, there you go. That's going to cause more trouble down the line. That's a higher risk than not patching that system or putting something in place. You have to have an exception and make sure that's documented, well documented in the risk register somewhere. All right, don't just go by word of mouth. You need to have this documented in case it comes back later on. What philosophy is followed provides the most return on investment? Well, that's going to be secured by design, aka do it right the first time, so you have to go back and fix it later on. Now, continue on to task number 4, continuous improvement. And organizational security is not a one-time job, but a continuous effort. Similarly, the security engineer's job doesn't end once policies are designed and implemented. Rather, it is a journey towards continuous improvement. The following steps help a security engineer carry out this role. Ensuring awareness, basically this is educating your users on cybersecurity best practices, right? It says humans are the weakest link in any organization. It states here, right? As a security engineer, you want to make sure you run in some type of security awareness training or assisting in that process. Maybe that can also be another team that does that, right? I've been at organizations where I was the one doing all this, and I've been at organizations where it was a separate team that managed that security awareness training and education program. But anyway, make sure your users are trained on cybersecurity best practices. If I'm an attacker and you got all these fancy security tools in place, all these fancy firewalls and all that, well, I can bypass that, right? I can just send a well-crafted phishing email to your end user. right? And they click on that link, takes you to some malicious website, download some type of malware on their machine, bam, now I have access without even having to bother with your firewall and all that. So make sure your users are staying safe in those cyber streets. Managing risk. The executive management of most organizations look at security from the lens of minimizing risk. Security is essential to business because ignoring it can result in operational disruptions, data leak, lawsuits, or other forms of. Since therefore, security engineers are often tasked with identifying security risks, determining their likelihood, impact, and finding solutions to minimize those risks. And also note that eliminating all risk may not be possible when running business operations. And that's absolutely true. Like I stated above, you might have to have some kind of exceptions in place, right? And sometimes you may not even be doing this actual risk assessment. The risk assessment may be done by another team. So you have to work with them. So, hey, they want you to apply this patch or do this and that. Well, you have to compromise with them. Like, hey, we can't really apply that patch right now. Maybe 6 months down the line, I need an exception here because if I apply this patch now, it may break a important business process, or maybe there's some kind of obsolete system in place, but it's an actual business critical system. You'll be surprised by the amount of organizations are still running critical systems from Windows XP or 2008, Server 2008, or Server 2003. You know, a lot of obsolete systems out there. So you'll have to have exceptions in place. And in regard to that, you'll need to have some kind of plan in place to get that stuff replaced, right? You just don't want to have old and obsolete systems sitting in your environment forever because those can be exploited for an attacker. Now, if you can't get rid of a system, it has to stay in place forever for some reason, well, you have to put in some type of compensating controls. Let's say that, okay, let's lock it down. Let's put it behind a firewall, and only these users can access the system at this time or whatever, right? You'll have to compromise with the auditors. And it goes in and explains some other things, talks about software, OS version, and stuff like that. So be sure to read this all the way through to understand what's going on here. Change management. Organizations keep evolving with time, which also results in changes in their security posture. To ensure a best security posture, the security engineer keeps track of changes in organization's digital asset that can affect the security posture and takes measures to improve security posture. With organization evolution, let's assume an organization wants to upgrade in e-commerce, yada yada yada. New module will require risk assessment, penetration testing, and vulnerability assessment before integrating with the website. Security engineer will ensure that all these requirements are fulfilled and that the integration will not introduce security vulnerabilities. Furthermore, it will also be ensured that the new module follows security policies, guidances laid out by the organization. Now, usually when it comes to change management, the organization will have something in place. They'll have a cab, which is I forgot what it stands for, but it's basically at the change management team, right? You submit a request to do something that's going to require a change in environment. So that cab team is has representatives from various different business units, different IT teams, and you have to go through and review your request, and then they will either ask for more information on something, or they will approve or deny your request to get it done, so you can actually carry out the work. And that's usually done, during after hours, so it doesn't cause a huge disruption to the business, depending on the severity of the change request. Vulnerability management. Threat landscapes continues evolving. New software versions are released and vulnerabilities are found. Older versions, security engineering job often includes monitoring vulnerabilities across the organization, planning to patch or minimize the risk. And right, vulnerability management basically make sure you're properly mitigating, reducing the risk of the vulnerabilities out there. There's a lot of organizations that don't do this properly, and they get some they have some type of old vulnerability they had to patch out forever, but they forgot about it because they're not doing proper vulnerability management, and that vulnerability ends up getting exploited by an attacker. Next thing you know, the business is ransomware or something like that. So make sure you're doing this properly. A lot of times, as a security engineer, like I said, depending on the organization, you may or may not be doing this, but you may be providing input to this vulnerability management process. I've been in organizations where it worked both ways. I was the vulnerability management person and how actually doing the work, etc. And I've been on teams where this is a separate team you had to contact or work with to get the vulnerability resolved. Compliance and audits. A significant part of a security engineer's duties ensures ensuring compliance with regulatory and organizational requirements. Like I said before, a lot of times this will be done by the GRC team, and you'll just need to provide some kind of evidence to that team. Say, hey, yeah, we're doing this or we're doing that, and then they'll go in and check off the box. And it's got down some compliance standards. You got PCI DSS, HIPAA, SOC 2, ISO 27001, NIST 800-53, and more. The security engineer works closely with both internal and external auditors to detect any non-compliance issues and effectively addresses them, as I stated. Additionally, they are responsible for upholding organization security certifications as needed. Okay, there's some questions down below, so be sure to answer those. If you are just following along with the video, we're going to continue on to these questions. Now, on to the questions. What is considered the weakest link in the organization's security? Yeah, well, that's going to be humans, as discussed above when it talked about here ensuring awareness. Okay, and organization security involves with the organization. What helps a security engineer keep the organization secure through these changes? Well, that's going to be change management, as explained here under change management. You're keeping track of what's going on in your organization. And now let's continue on to task number 5, additional roles and responsibilities. As discussed previously, the security engineer's role is often loosely defined and broad. In certain organizations, a security engineer might need to take up some additional responsibilities to help other teams, which we will cover in this task. Managing security tooling, and yes, they'll be doing that a lot. Security engineering, you have to deal with, tuning SIMs, firewalls, WAFs, EDRs, etc., etc. Tabletop exercises, you'll be in those as well. Tabletop exercises are often conducted to gauge the operational readiness of an organization from a security point of view. Certain scenarios are identified to be exercised, and security team members must explain their respective roles and scenarios under discussion. Right? Security, these are basically like dry run exercises, right? You're sitting in like a meeting room and they have a scenario like, hey, what if we get hit? What if this system gets hit by ransomware? And then you have to provide a good answer in response to that. It's like, well, we have these capabilities to do this and that, quarantine off the ransomware, yada yada yada. And you go over, organization playbooks, which is basically procedures of how to handle particular events, incidents that happen to occur in an environment. Disaster recovery and crisis management. A robust security posture requires organizations to plan for untoward incidents, disasters, or crisis. In any such scenario, the top priority of the executive management is to maintain business continuity. Gosh, I can't talk today. Business continuity. A security engineer might be involved in disaster recovery, business continuity. Gosh, anyway, you know what it is. And crisis management planning as part of the different compliance frameworks and the organization's internal process or policies. The role of security engineer in these areas might differ depending on the organization, and that's true as well. You may be having to deal with some kind of backup systems, some kind of high availability systems, yada yada yada. Basically, you may be part of a process that needs to have the business. The business needs to keep running in the event of a big disaster, a big incident happens. All right. Anyway, there's some questions down below, so be sure to pause the video, answer those questions. If you're just following along, we're going to continue to the questions and answers. Question number 1 here says, what is a theoretical exercise carried out to gauge the operational readiness of an organization from a security point of view? Well, that's tabletop exercises. Those are those dry run exercises, etc., as explained above. What is the priority of the management in case of a disaster or crisis? Well, that's going to be business continuity, as explained here in disaster and crisis management. You want this business operation to continue as much as possible so that the business isn't losing a bunch of money because a particular system or application is down. And task number 6, walking in their shoes. All right, looks like some practical application here. We're going to view site, go through some things. While performing their duties, security engineers must consider various aspects of running a business apart from keeping it secure. These considerations may include business operation, business operation, cost and ease of implementation, ease of use, and more. Although the most secure system is the one that's shut off or disconnected from power, such a system doesn't achieve any business objectives. Hence, a security engineer must consider business objectives and security when making decisions. That's absolutely true. You just want to go and start shutting off stuff, and that causes a disruption to business. Now the business is losing revenue and such, right? That could be a RG, a revenue or a resume generating event. Now it's going to want us to take a look at this site here. It says, what is the flag shown completion of the static site? So let's go ahead and pause the video, go through the site, and then we'll go down to the solution below. All right, let's continue on here. View site. Instruction. The site shows an email client showing the inbox of a security engineer. The inbox has several unread emails. Each unread email will be one of the tasks that the security engineer has to perform. Let's proceed. All right, this first one here says, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing reports. And it wants us to take a look at this attachment here. So let's go ahead and do that. Please read the vulnerability report and select one of the available mitigation options to mitigate this vulnerability according to the information. Please keep the ease of use, ease of implementation, cost, and improvement in security posture while selecting the answer. Select the answer that best suits the above mentioned criteria. So let's go ahead and do that. So be sure to go ahead and read all this stuff here and then answer the correct answer here. It says vulnerability in the MySQL Server product, Oracle MySQL, yada yada yada, supported versions, recommended solution, upgrade to the latest version of Oracle MySQL, download, yada yada yada. It's asset name, backend server. Okay, so it's a backend server, right? So it's probably not publicly available. And the best thing to do here is to probably restrict accessibility of the server only through VPN or internal network. And look at the CVSS score here, and it's pretty low. So I'm going to go ahead and select that answer. Bam, we got it. Next one here, it says corporate client portal. Okay, well that could be possibly more than likely public facing, right? It goes in and describes the vulnerability here, command injection, further circumstances where the C rehash script is not properly sanitized, yada yada yada, prevent command injection or founded by a code review. And let's see here, it wants us to do apply an upgrade, download, yada yada yada, upgrade, download and apply upgrade. It's got a bunch of stuff to do here. Okay, since it's public facing and all that, let's try. You don't want to rebuild the server. It could be possibly patch it, keep it as is, restrict accessibility. Well, you can't really do that, can you? Since it's, let's see, customer client portal, or sorry, corporate client portal. Okay, maybe it is internal. So we're gonna select that. There we go. All right, now this is the other one. Website is public, so you can't. So that's not gonna work. Restricting it to internal only. Let's see. A carefully crafted request body can cause a read to a random memory area, which could cause the process to crash. It wants us to update some stuff, upgrade so many platforms, yada yada yada. Okay. We don't want to keep it as is. Don't want to rebuild the server. I'm gonna say patch it, and there you go. Now let's continue on to the next one. Audit observations. Basically the same thing here. And there's two questions we need to get through. Okay. External audit non-compliance report. All assets of XYZ Inc. should have the latest operating system security updates installed. Observation, though most systems have the latest OS security updates, some legacy systems that support XYZ Inc.'s old hardware didn't have the latest security updates. And XYZ Inc. comments, these systems are older and installing security updates on them might break the functionality of these systems. Well, you can't do that. You're not going to be able to install updates, right? Keep as is. Well, you want to get this remediated, right? So it's in an external audit report, so that's not going to work. Rebuild the legacy servers so that they don't break. Well, the legacy servers, how can you rebuild those? Maybe you don't have that particular software or hardware. Maybe it doesn't exist anymore. It was discontinued. So we're going to go with this one here. Restrict it. All right. The second one here says that all network communication, user activity, and security device logs shall be aggregated in a single platform, the SIEM, and monitored continuously. And their observation says that we got stuff on-prem and also in the cloud. Says that it was observed that the cloud assets were not integrated with the SIEM, which is present on-prem. It says Inc. The logs from the cloud are not integrated with the securities or with the SIEM because this will require enabling internet access to the SIEM, which is not desirable. Well, okay, well, what can you do to mitigate this? Let's see here. Aggregate cloud logs in single place for the logs from single place to on-prem network using restricted tunnel. That sounds good. Forward cloud logs to SIEM regardless. No, you don't want to do that because it'll have access to the SIEM, which they don't want. Keep as is. Obviously, you can't do that. Rebuild applications on the cloud. No, you want to do that. That's a lot of work and waste of time. So we're going to do this one here. Aggregate cloud logs. And there's your answer, the flag. Awesome. So let's go ahead and get out of this, and we'll continue on to the last one here. Conclusion. That was a brief introduction to the day-to-day activities of a security engineer. To conclude, we learned that a security engineer owns the responsibility of an organization's cybersecurity. ensures that the systems and infrastructure of an organization are built securely, helps maintain this security posture through continuous improvement and changes, yada yada, takes on additional roles and responsibilities to help other teams achieve the collective goal of a secure organization. Head on to the security principles room, learn about the principles that form the foundation of security engineering. Let us know what you found interesting in this room on the Discord channel or Twitter. And a very important piece of this here is that here to help other teams. A lot of times you'll have to negotiate and compromise with other teams to get something done, right? You got to build those business relationships, those professional relationships with other teams, right? You can attract more. What's that saying? You can attract more flies with honey than vinegar, right? So if you are professional with them, courteous to them and everything, then they'll probably be more than likely to help get a particular task done. And that's about it, guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and comment below your thoughts and opinions. And I will be back with another video soon. Thank you all for watching. Have an awesome day today. Hopefully you learned something. See you later.